Millions in Syria and Iraq are facing water shortages as the region's longest river, the Euphrates, dries up.
For millennia, the Euphrates River has flowed steadily through the heart of the Middle East, shaping civilizations and providing life to millions. But now, after years of dwindling water levels, the mighty river has finally run dry, leaving behind a desolate landscape. However, what has been uncovered in the parched riverbed has left the world in shock and disbelief. Something ancient and mysterious has been discovered, hidden beneath the river's surface for centuries. What secrets does it hold, and what long-forgotten truths will it reveal about the river's storied past? Let's take a look at it all. On the banks of the Euphrates River, Mohammed Misto is seated on his haunches on his field. After taking a look at the parched landscape, he lowered his head into his palms. On this property, we used to cultivate tomatoes, eggplants, and isot, which is a type of chili pepper. Nothing exists at this time. It's a catastrophe, he remarked. There has been at least a 5-meter decrease in the amount of water that is present in the Euphrates River. Along its bank is a stretch of parched and cracked ground. To keep his farm irrigated, Misto is completely reliant on the river. According to him, the insufficient availability of water has caused massive damage to our farm. Turkey is the country that is home to the Euphrates River's headwaters. The river traverses Syria in a winding path before entering Iraq and then emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. In 1987, Turkey and Damascus came to an agreement wherein Turkey would flow 500 cubic meters of water per second down the Euphrates and across the border into Syria. The deal was inked in Ankara. According to information provided by Rojava's General Administration of Dams, the current water flow is less than 200 cubic meters per second. The low water also has an effect on the generation of electricity, and officials believe that they have no choice but to put the provision of drinking water ahead of maintaining power. The provision of energy is no longer our first priority, as the water levels have dropped significantly. People are parched, and making sure that they have access to drinkable water is our top priority. According to Jihad Bayram, a member of the committee in charge of operating the Tishreen Dam on the Euphrates River, we are forced to reduce our electricity hours just to be able to provide water to the people. According to a report published in January by NASA's Earth Observatory, as 2021 began, most of Turkey was experiencing severe drought. The year that just ended was the driest of the past 5 years. The overexploitation of groundwater resources in Turkey's agricultural sector has resulted in the formation of hundreds of sinkholes. In the hope the water will arrive next year, Ata Yigit's expansive farm in Turkey's southeast has had the pipes that will connect it to a dam on the Euphrates River laid out in preparation for construction. He describes it as a fantasy that will very soon become a reality. Nothing will grow on Obaid Hafiz's wheat field, even though it is located almost 625 miles downstream in southern Iraq. According to the 95-year-old man, the water supply has been cut off for the past year. Along the entire length of the Tigris-Euphrates River basin, which is one of the most vulnerable in the world, starkly contrasting realities are being played out. Because countries along the river's length, including Turkey, Syria, Iran, and Iraq, are pursuing rapid and unilateral development of the water's use, river flows have decreased by 40% in the past 4 decades. It is anticipated that the reduction will become much more severe as temperatures continue to climb as a result of climate change. Both Turkey and Iraq, the two countries that utilize the most water, are aware that they need to work together in order to protect the river system. But a combination of political failures, mistrust, and stubbornness are working together to make it impossible to reach an agreement on how the river should be shared. The Southeast Anatolia Project, also known by its Turkish abbreviation GAP, is a huge initiative undertaken by Turkey to improve agricultural production and create hydroelectricity. As part of this initiative, the river basin has been harnessed. The Associated Press conducted over a dozen interviews in both countries, ranging from high-ranking officials and water envoys to rural farmers, and received exclusive access to disputed dam construction sites. The calculations that are driving the disagreements behind closed doors are illustrated by internal reports and leaked statistics. These calculations range from Iraq's fears of a probable 20% decline in food output to Turkey's challenges to reconcile Iraq's needs with its own. "I don't see a solution," remarked the former Prime Minister of Iraq, Haidar al-Abadi. The Southeast Anatolia Project is a huge initiative undertaken by Turkey to improve agricultural production and create hydroelectricity. And as part of the initiative, the river basin has been harnessed. At this point, it has constructed at least 19 dams on the Euphrates and Tigris, and it has plans to construct many more, bringing the total to 22. The goal is to improve the southeast region of Turkey, which has long been an economic backwater. Yiğit, the farmer, will experience a sea change as a result of the endeavor. Up until this point, the fact that he had to rely on well water meant that only half of his field could be irrigated. But now that the irrigation pipes have reached his farm in the province of Mardin, the Ataturk Dam on the Euphrates will be used to water all 4,500 of his acres during the growing season of the next year. Iraq's Ministry of Water issued a report for internal use that warned that within the next 2 years, the country's water supply would no longer be sufficient to satisfy demand, and the gap would only continue to expand. According to the analysis, which was obtained by the AP, the water shortage will reduce food production by 20% by the year 2035. Turkey's envoy on water issues with Iraq, Veysel Eroglu, told the Associated Press in a rare interview that Turkey cannot accept to release a fixed amount of water because of the unpredictability of river flows in the age of climate change. On September 2, 2022, in the province of Diyar Iraq, Hamza Noor stores collected fresh water in an unused boat in order to feed water buffaloes in the marshes. As a result of Turkey, Syria, Iran, and Iraq's pursuit of rapid and unilateral development of the water's use, the flow rates of the Tigris-Euphrates River system have decreased by 40% over the course of the past 4 decades. Eroglu stated that Turkey could agree to determine a ratio to release, but this would be contingent on Syria and Iraq providing specific statistics regarding the amount of water that they use. And according to Eroglu, that is the only way to share water in a manner that's optimal and fair. Iraq refuses to release its consumption figures. This is the case in part because it would highlight the enormous waste of water in Iraq, as well as the ineffectiveness of the administration, which makes it practically difficult to manage water resources. The southern region of Iraq is in an uproar because the government's attempting to limit the diminishing water supply. After authorities did not respond to the tribal leader Sheikh Damer Sa'idi's request for water in August in the southern province of Diyar, he and dozens of protesters attempted to divert water from a Tigris tributary in order to irrigate his dry lands. Before the intervention of the security forces, the attempted diversion was on the verge of inciting violence between the local tribes. In particular, Iraq points the finger at a place of Turkish infrastructure known as the Ilusu Dam, which is located on the Tigris River. Prior to the year 2020, when Turkey began operating the dam, the whole river's flow was directed into Iraq. Now, the amount of water that comes down is dependent on whether or not Ankara takes into account Iraq's month-to-month request for a minimum flow, while also taking into account Turkey's own hydropower needs. Turkey maintains that it is being used as a scapegoat in an unjust manner. In October, Turkey State Hydraulics Works, often known by the Turkish acronym DSI, provided the AP with an exclusive tour of the dam site. During the tour, they disclosed for the first time numbers that detailed flow rates and energy output over a period of 2 years. Before the turn of the century, Iraq's use of the Tigris River resulted in an average flow of 625 cubic meters of water per second. According to officials from the Iraqi Water Ministry, the rate currently averages at barely 36% of that figure. According to information that was provided by DSI, Turkey complied with Iraq's request to let it at least 300 cubic meters per second of water down the Tigris River during summer months, which are oftentimes when there are water shortages. However, Iraqi officials have stated that relying on such ad hoc arrangements makes it difficult to plan. They have the ability to both restrict and release water. According to Hatem Hamid, chairman of Iraq's National Center for Water Resources Management, we urgently need a water agreement just to satisfy Iraq's minimum requirements. For instance, because severe water shortages are expected in 2022, Hamid has halved the state agriculture water plan and decreased the amount of fresh water that flows into Iraq's marshlands in order to limit the amount of salinity. However, Iran, which is facing severe water shortages, also diverted flows from tributaries that fed the marshes. Because of this, there was a crisis in the environment, and hundreds of animals perished as a direct consequence. The Bible foretells that in the end times, the Euphrates River would run dry, clearing the path for what it calls the kings of the east to make their way through. Any army attempting to go from east to west would have a difficult time advancing due to the vast terrain barrier that is the river. The Euphrates River, which extends for more than 1,800 miles and has an average width of 300 yards, has been an important source of life in the surrounding area for a very long time. The sixth angel poured out his bowl onto the great river Euphrates, and the water in it was dried up to make way for the kings who came from the east, the book of Revelation says in chapter 16, verse 12. There is no clear identification of the kings of the East in the Bible. Hence, several biblical academics and theologians have proposed various candidates for this title. The term kings of the East has been taken to mean many different things by different people, but one of the most common interpretations is that it refers to the development of China and other Asian nations as great political and economic entities. In Revelation chapter 9, verses 16 through 18, John makes the proclamation that these kings of the east will each have a standing army of 200 million soldiers. This is an audacious prophecy, especially when you take into consideration the fact that there weren't even 200 million people on the earth when he was writing it. On the other hand, as you are listening to this video, China possesses an army that numbers over 200 million, precisely as the Bible forecasted it would. It's also important to note that whoever or whatever the kings of the East are, they are considered to be a formidable force in the end times, and they're going to be part of the final wars that will take place before the return of Jesus. This is something that should be kept in mind. In either case, this enormous army will have forded the Euphrates River in order to reach the region where Armageddon would take place. Recent stories in the media have discussed how the Euphrates River is in fact beginning to dry up. The flow of the river has fallen by more than 60% over the course of the last century as a result of dams and irrigation projects in Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, according to a study conducted by the University of Arizona. In addition to this, there is a mysterious force that has led to it increase, which nobody's able to explain. This dramatic fall in flow has had a huge impact on the region, leading to water shortages and negatively affecting the livelihoods of those who rely on the river for activities such as agriculture and fishing. The apparent drying up of the Euphrates River is an obvious fulfillment of biblical prophecy and a sign that we need to be prepared for the return of Jesus Christ. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 44, it says, "Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." That's all for the video today, but we'll be right back soon. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and thanks for watching.